Hey everyone, welcome back to ChroniTalk. I'm your host, Mykayla Lynn, and today's episode is with someone that has a primary immune deficiency as well. And it really hits home for me because she was a part of my story and she's going to be a part of your guys' communities. So I'd like to welcome this mom of two, fierce fighter, and someone who I know you guys are going to connect with. So welcome, Kaytee.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be on ChroniTalk and I can't wait to share my story.
Thank you so much. So let's start with a little bit of yourself, where you're from, your family, and kind of what led to your diagnosis.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm from a small town just south of Edmonton called Beaumont. I am just a regular family mom of two girls who are 6 and 3, and I live with them and my husband and my two dogs, and I do work full time. And I have CVID, so Common Variable Immune Deficiency, which you had mentioned, or hypogammaglobulinemia. I have had it since birth, but I didn't get diagnosed until last year, 2024, and I was 40 when I got diagnosed.
Wow. So how was that for you to navigate getting diagnosed? Like how did your family and friends react to that? How did it look for you as being a parent, like for raising your kids and your timeline, your schedule?
Yeah, for sure. For me personally, it was a relief. It was scary because being diagnosed with anything is scary. But after looking for answers for so long, first my parents trying to find answers when I was little, just thinking that I was just a sick kid all the time, and then advocating for myself through my 20s and through my 30s until it got really bad. So it was more of a relief for me. I would say for my family, it was just a bit of clearing things up because they saw me getting sick all the time and they were there for me all the time, but they never knew what was wrong. So I think just confusion and then having answers for them. For friends, they were surprised that no one's heard of this before. So lots of friends researching things, asking lots of questions. So it's been fun to educate myself and people all around.
How was that being a mom? Like how did you navigate kind of like integrating that treatment into your life? So the treatment being the weekly plasma treatment. And then now bi-weekly. So Kaytee actually started on a loading dose, I'd like to say. So that was a 60 mil one day, 50 mil the next day. And that would be weekly. And then she transferred over to the bi-weekly where she's doing a bi-weekly dose of 110 milliliters. So with that being said, like in the beginning you were having to navigate weekly and then like still now bi-weekly. So what did that look like for you?
Yeah, for sure. So when I started, the nurse came and helped me through just learning how to do everything, sanitizing, setting up my station, getting the needles in. So that was the whole thing, wanting to stick yourself with a bunch of needles. The loading doses were fine. I actually took comfort in that I only had to do 60 mils one day and then 50 another. I could do it vice versa to get used to it. And I wasn't confident enough to do the full dose until about 3 months after I started. And then I just went to, like you had said, once every 2 weeks, 110 mils, and I do it for about an hour. But I think the first couple months I was doing about 3 hours for the 110 mils. So 1 hour is where I'm comfortable now, and it seems to react well with my body. With my kids' reactions, they were just curious. They both like needles and just odd, but they just want to help and stick the needles in me, and I will not let that happen. But it's fun to see them curious about the medical side of things for sure.
Yeah, it's nice that they're curious and I mean like we haven't touched on your kids yet, but like if they were to per se ever have the primary immune deficiency, they are growing up like watching their mom doing the treatment and kind of getting like this little understanding and even if they don't have it themselves, I think just being able to like have that while they're growing up is a bit more adaptive than later on in life per se if you were to get the diagnosis and then they're like, "Wait, what's mom on?" Like they're learning young.
Yeah, exactly. So if it is something that they do have, if they get diagnosed young or older or never at all, they'll always have a knowledge of it. And they, because my family and friends know about it now, they have a big support system already before they're even diagnosed if they were. So.
That's so nice. And so let's touch on that. Like what does the diagnosis process look like? Has the immunologist talked to you about whether or not you should get your kids tested or
Yeah, definitely. We've discussed it. Genetic testing was something that was optional for me. They gave me the pros and cons of getting the genetic testing done, but they did say if you got the genetic testing, it would benefit your children getting tested in the future, it would just make it an easier process altogether. So I did it. I did the genetic testing, and we did discuss my children having it. But at this point, they don't have any symptoms that would point to that. I do have one daughter that does have abnormally large tonsils, but we're keeping an eye on that with an ENT. But they're generally pretty healthy. They both go to daycare and school full time. So with the amount of sickness they bring home and have, they actually don't get sick that often. So I'm hopeful that they won't get my
Yeah,
diagnosis.
I'm also so hopeful. It sounds like they're so like resilient already. So I hope that that sticks. And so being that you said like you had these genes, you had this from birth. What is that for your parents? Like, did they get a genetic panel done? Like, do they have the genes and are they mutated? Do you know those kind of things about their gene panels?
I don't know. They didn't get tested. The results were, I didn't really look into them that much. The results were kind of inconclusive. It looked like the genes came from both my parents, actually, which is quite rare.
Yeah.
But because it wasn't further tested, yeah, it looks like it came from both sides of my family. So
Yeah, like
that's
super rare
interesting.
to get it from both sides because like I've mentioned to Kaytee before, but we haven't like fully discussed the fact that my parents did get some genetic panels done. So my mom and my father both did, and my mom carried the gene, but my dad did not. However, my mom does not have an active gene where it like makes her sick like it does us. She does not have a primary immune deficiency where her body is lacking the immunoglobulin. However, that gene did get transferred to me and mutate, and well, here we are. But Kaytee getting it from both parents and having it from birth, like that is much more rare in the CVID
Yeah,
community for sure.
for sure. Yeah, I should probably see just because it's inconclusive. I would like love for them to get panels too and just see like for sure like kind of where it came from or how it's mutated or like you said what chromosome.
Yeah.
I don't know any
Like
of that,
sometimes it's
so it'd be
like just like
interesting.
fun to see our genes, I guess, in a
Yeah.
sense. Like, but also can be scary. So I mean, like touching on that part of things would be nice for a second, Kaytee. Like I know that social media and even things like gene panels results coming in Alberta, we have access to our results, which can be a great thing and also a bad thing. So what were some of your feelings like surrounding seeing things on social media or having your results coming in and wondering like what is what? I don't know what's going on right now.
Yeah, I having the results come in is kind of bittersweet. It's nice to have the results and not have to wait for them. But at the same time, I think it leads to that doom scrolling, right? You get a low level if it tells you you're low in something or high in something, you immediately Google it. And then it's like it just everything leads to cancer, right? Eventually that's like it points to that. My tests were specifically for IgG, IgM, and IgA. So I had looked those up, and the first thing that came up was low levels of those were CVID. So I kind of knew before I was diagnosed that I had it. I thought I had it at least. And then when I did get the results, it was just to confirm it. But like you said, social media, that's the first place I went. I joined every support group on CVID or PI, and I kind of went down a rabbit hole with that. And there's just a lot of scary stories out there because those people do need support. But there was a lot of positive there. So I found a great community in those
And I
groups.
mean, like a good rabbit hole, guys, I want to say, because Kaytee's here today because she found me by getting on
Yeah.
Facebook. So while I
Yes.
can 100% agree, guys, like let's not doom scroll. Let's not Google every single thing and panic because I've been there. I've done that. We've all done that. There are really good communities are out there. There are really good supports out there. So when you are ready to take that leap. Like maybe you're taking a break off of Facebook or you're taking a break from looking at your results, and that's all very healthy things to do. And if you are ever ready to like get back out there, I think looking for some more positive sometimes would be good because some of these support groups are well, they're intended for us to go to seek support. So when we're going to seek the support and it's all okay, this is a bad story about what happened to me today, and then it's like you scroll, there's another one, and you keep going. Well, that's there because everyone's looking for help. So maybe if you're not looking for help, seek more of a community style page, somewhere where you can go where other people are just experiencing like minded things or have a disability or a mental illness or chronic illness like you you, and then you'll feel a little bit more welcomed and like you're understood, and not that you're just doom scrolling, because we both did that, and I don't think that that was always healthy for us.
No, for sure it was not.
So I saw that like perspective really plays a role in how things work for you and like how your outlook is on life. So can you kind of share with our listeners just your positive outlook on things, and why that has shaped your chronic illness?
Yeah, definitely. I try and think of everything in a positive note. I think it doesn't do anybody any good to worry, though I do all the time because I'm a mom too, so I'm always worrying. But I feel blessed that I have a diagnosis and an answer and a path and a treatment. I feel grateful for you and the communities and friends that I've made through this diagnosis. I mean, it's kind of weird because you make friends through a bad thing, but then I don't know, it just creates a community that's really great. And I think having a positive attitude just really helps when you're doing your treatments, because you can, if you're having a bad day, you can talk to other people that have had bad days as well. And they kind of lift you up, even though you could both be in a bad state. It kind of lifts you up together in that way. And I just am grateful really to have people that donate plasma. Really, that's like at the end of the day, that's why I'm able to get the treatments that I do, and why I'm not sick all the time. So I'm really grateful for that as well.
I totally agree. Yeah, I double down on that. And like we said in Aubrey's episode as well, everybody go donate plasma. It helps us out so much. And I think that it's just like really important to have that positive outlook on things. And as much as we are struggling and we need to acknowledge that and lean on each other, sometimes the only things that can pull us out is like trying to find the positive in it. And sorry for anyone that doesn't like tattoos, but my first tattoo is on my wrist, and it says think positive. And I don't know, like I often look at it more than I thought I would, in a sense. Like, yes, it's on my wrist, but like I'll look at it with purpose. Like I'm like, okay, I need like a positive second here, and I try to find that. And really in our community and in the chronic illness space, I think being grateful for whatever you can really help you overcome a lot. So being grateful that we have treatment, being grateful that they are looking into cures, being grateful that they look into things like stem cell research, and they look into different kinds of preventative measures. And to go back a little bit, you know, you Google stuff and you said everything kind of leads to cancer. You know, when you're in the chronic illness or disability Google realm of things, like you tend to find that answer regardless. So I think just taking a step back and being like, okay, no, like what are the other options here? Don't jump to the worst one. Jump to like what could be like the basic where we're, you know, getting a ground level here.
Yeah, exactly. Like Occam's razor, right? Like usually the most obvious answer is the answer, right? And I have to say, I love that you have a tattoo. I actually wear a ring all the time, and it says keep going on it all the time. And
I love
both
that.
my sisters have one as well. And yeah, I love it. And I look at it all the time.
I know, like a memory came up on my Facebook, and so my mom just moved like 5 minutes down the road for me. One of the most exciting things for me, my mom has lived hours away from me for years, and I had a memory come up the other day while I was like at her house packing up her things to get her moving here from a year ago, of me painting like just keep swimming on like a canvas for her, you know? And she was just like having a tough time. And I think that sometimes we just need those reminders, and she put that in her bathroom, and I think that was a constant reminder for her. Sometimes just keep swimming, keep going, think positive, do the things.
I love that. Exactly. Nothing else you can do.
All right, so we'll jump a little bit back to some of your symptoms and complications. So I want to point out here as well that not only common variable immune deficiency, which is CVID, but also lower right lobe syndrome is what Kaytee has. So for many of you, you're going to be like, what is that? Well, it's in her lungs, and I'm going to give her a chance to explain that and kind of what led up to that and what led to getting a diagnosis like that.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually don't really know what it is. It was never really explained to me in depth, but essentially I have a lot of scar tissue built up in my right lung due to pneumonia, which I will talk about. So I have, it's kind of like a partially collapsed lung. So when I do things like yawning is the worst, coughing, sneezing, breathing really deeply, my right side kind of lights up in pain. So depending on the scar tissue, it could be for life. But that's what basically led to my diagnosis. So I had a painful couple days and I thought I was having a heart attack. I couldn't breathe. My chest was tight. I couldn't pick anything up. And I had my two little kids at home while my husband was at work. He did offer to not go to work that day, but I pushed through. I
Oh,
was like, it's fine, just go. And then I got to the point where I was like, I don't even know what this is. So I called him and said, you need to come home now. I'm calling an ambulance. And he got home at the same time as they were arriving. Eventually, I went to the hospital and they said it's pneumonia, so they gave me IV and it was treatable via IV antibiotics. So that was fine. I went home and I had an oral medication for 3 days, and then it went away. And then I kept getting it every couple of months. So within a 18-month period, I had it 6 times. And so over that 18-month period, it just completely wrecked my right lung.
wow.
After the fifth time, I started getting it in my left lung. So it was even a little bit scarier that way. But yeah, it was just tons of tests, tons of x-rays. I can't even count the number of times I had to do tests. Eventually I went to an allergist. They thought it might be allergy related and it wasn't. And he had tested my IgG, IgM, and IgA. And they all came back with like zero point 0.0 something. They were extremely low. So that's when I got sent to the immunologist. And that's where my CVID diagnosis came from.
Wow, yeah, so that's a long process to get there. Like you ultimately got to the conclusion of this lower right lobe syndrome to get your CVID diagnosis.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
really scary. Like genuinely like so glad that you had support going through that, but regardless of the support, like it doesn't change the difficulty level of like being in the hospital, having children at home. Your lungs like physically are hurting. You don't know what to do. You don't know what's happening. I'm glad that you finally got to the point where you were at an allergist and immunologist who took those steps, but to give like the audience here a little bit of perspective, most people are not seeing zero point 0.0 on IgG, IgM, and IgA. Most people who have a primary immune deficiency, and like take most lightly, guys, I am not here to give you medical advice. Like, we are here to share stories and open up a community, and that's strictly it. But from what I've seen, per se, there's ranges of 80 to 3, 4, 500. My lows were in the 4 or 500s kind of thing. And my IgM and IgA actually were higher than my IgG, and all of Kaytee's being 0 is again very abnormal. So there isn't actually any sort of treatment for IgA and IgM replacement. I'd also like to point out. So the only replacement therapy that we do have at this time is immunoglobulin, and they have not figured out how to successfully give us the IgM and IgA, so that can cause a lot of secondary problems. But CVID alone as a diagnosis comes with you are predisposed to autoimmune, unfortunately, a lot of cancers and a lot of other things like the asthmas and the allergies. And I mean, essentially, all of the things that our immune system is not able to fight.
Yeah, exactly.
So, thank you so much for diving into a little bit about how you got there. I want to talk about your mental health and your feelings as much as you are open and willing through your pneumonia experiences and getting that diagnosis, and then all the way up to now and how you're doing now.
Yeah, for sure. So, um, I, I even before I had pneumonia, I was getting a little bit sicker as the kind of years went on. I would get really bad sinus infections. My ears had really bad ear infections, for the point I had like 30% hearing in both ears for a long time. And having new babies and just one a little bit older was really hard. So I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I definitely just kind of avoided going to things where I had to listen to people because you tell them to talk louder and they try, but they can't really. So um, that was hard. But yeah, it eventually came back. I got ear tubes and that fixed that. But then the pneumonia started. So for me, it was emotionally very scary because I didn't know what it was. And then I did. And then I didn't understand why I kept getting it and why no one could tell me why or what to do. I mean, it was just I was on amoxicillin for like 9 months straight every day. I was taking two every day, and that even alone, taking that many antibiotics is like still hard on your body too. So I was just scared of those implications. Um, but once I came off those and the months started going by, I was actually quite excited to go for you. We usually do monthly blood tests the first year of CVID, and then every 3 months after that. At least for me, that was my experience. And I was actually excited to go give blood because I was like seeing my numbers come up for IgG, and I was like getting excited that they were going up. And now I only go every 3 months, so I'm kind of sad that I don't get to see them every month. But now I would say I'm in a better place. It took a lot of getting used to. When my 2 week time would come up, I would say, like, I can't believe this is my life. I can't believe I have to do this every 2 weeks. And it just felt odd. And it didn't feel like it was something that was happening to me sometimes. But then I would just set it up and do it. And then I would put it all away and do it again 2 weeks later. So it just becomes a part of your routine. Um, and I just, yeah, I feel like I don't, I would never let the disease be my life. I make the disease, or not the disease, the diagnosis. It just becomes a part of my life. I'm never going to let it control what I do. I'm not going to let it control my life in that way as much as possible. So, like you said, just keeping a positive attitude, a good support system, and just keep advocating for yourself.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that, like, as much as things were hard, you were able to keep your head up through those things, and it can be quite difficult. And I sympathize. Like, I do it weekly, and I mean it's hard. And like there's
Yeah.
weeks where like, oh, it's a breeze. Like I'll stab myself, we're ready to go. It doesn't even hurt that bad. And there's other weeks where like all those four needles hurt. Every single one going in hurts. My day
Mm-hmm.
sucks. I'm crying. I don't want to do it. Like I've taken my plasma out too late, or my days run too late, or, my treatment ran into Saturday, but I had plans on Sunday. So I'm going to have the chronic fatigue and I won't want to get out of bed. And so, as much as like I understand maybe that you didn't have depression per se with it, you still did share a lot of those feelings that somebody who maybe was going through it with depression, like even myself, you share some of those feelings and some of those like sentiments, in a sense that you're like, it still is very hard. It's still very hard to accustom to putting in your life, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. And then like the blood work and everything, like you said, like I just got switched to every 3 months now. It was every month before, like prior to that. So I'm talking a monthly biologic, monthly blood work, and weekly plasma treatment, and then all the appointments that they would like to see me
Yeah.
because they just love
Yeah.
my face.
Yeah. Me too.
Yay! We love that for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So
Lots of appointments.
yeah, I think that's like really nice that you shared that, because it can give a little bit of a perspective to some people who don't kind of struggle with the mental health portion of things as bad, but still want to feel validated and recognize that these things can still suck.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's very helpful that I do sub-Q and that I can do it at home. I know when the choices were given out, they had mentioned like, well, sometimes people go to the hospital to get their treatment, but sometimes you can do it at home. And I didn't speak up or anything because I was just gonna take whatever they said I had to do. But I was so grateful that I could just do it in the comfort of my home. I can travel with it if I need to, if I ever work up to that. But yeah, it's getting more convenient. And less stressful, I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely scary to think about like traveling with it. And I mean, all of the things. It's also scary to think IVIG. I mean, they mentioned it to me last week. Like I said in my previous episode, I got my plasma on a halt because I had adverse side effects and I need a brand switch. Due to that, I am sick right now. That blows. So back on the antibiotics, back on the steroids. And as we all know in this community, that just suppresses your immune system, just like it did for Kaytee in her pneumonia bouts and stuff. And so really all it means is that you're just going to keep getting sick, is how it feels. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so traveling with plasma can be really difficult, and I know that there's a lot of challenges that come with that. And like I said, like I in my last episode there, I went to the hospital with adverse side effects and got my plasma taken away and everything, taken away on a halt just so that I could get better before I go on a brand switch and everything. And so because of that, I'm sick, and antibiotics and steroids are the next step, and then that suppresses your immune system. And so this is kind of like circle of a bad on top of bad. And then we do think about things like traveling. We're like, that's pretty intimidating and scary too. And I got invited to the IDF conference in Chicago. And when I went, like, it fell on my treatment day, but I didn't want to fly with needles and plasmas. So I was like, I'm pushing that. But when I showed up, there was definitely people, like, there's all the zebras, all the spoonies, everybody's there. And there were people that did it because they were obviously comfortable doing that or had known how to do that. And I hope that this community is able to kind of open up some of those things so that even someone like myself or yourself or anybody listening will feel comfort in doing things like traveling, brand switch, anything kind of the sort. And then to loop all that back around, I really want to know how you manage working full time with it, because it's something that I'm also doing and I find quite difficult. So how's that working out for you?
Yeah, so it's just a matter of figuring out when the best time to do your infusions are because you get extreme fatigue, usually the next day or two. I could do mine on a Friday. I don't work on weekends, so I could potentially do them on a Friday, and just be tired over the weekend. But that's my time with my family and my kiddos, and I want to be able to be there for them. Not that I can do anything too strenuous with my lungs, but
Yeah.
if we're going out or doing something, so I do them usually Sunday nights, or Saturday nights sometimes, and then I'm a little bit more tired on Mondays. But I work from home. I do a job where I train people at a computer. So if I am tired, I just do my job at my desk and it's okay. It's hard, but I
Yeah.
would way rather have the time with my kids.
It's nice that like you have that flexibility and you can use a
Yes.
little bit of adapting to make it work for your life, but it's still difficult to manage working and doing your
Yeah, for
treatment
sure.
and then the fatigue.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like I still like to get up early and I read, so those days are extra hard if I get up and read, but it kind of starts my day in the way that I want it to. But yeah, sometimes you just want to go back to bed, especially if it's like winter time where we live, it's winter like
All the
six,
time.
7 months of the year. So yeah, we just kind of want to hibernate for
Yeah,
sure.
it's winter here so much sometimes, guys, that we wonder why we live here. Like,
Yeah,
love Canada,
always.
love Alberta, but sometimes we're like, really, is this still happening?
Yeah,
um,
I
so I find it quite difficult to work full time as well. And something that Aubrey had said in the last episode that I think will stick out for me is that it's like a full time job, and it's something that she has written about on aubrey-with-grace.com. And I think it's very enlightening to hear somebody else say that, because sometimes you suppress your own feelings about your diagnosis and how you treat yourself and manage your time. And it's nice to hear somebody else be like, yeah, it is a full-time job, because for me it feels like a
yeah.
full-time job, but I'm still running a full-time job on top of that. I own my own cleaning business, which I'd like to get a little bit into that after. But I had to close the cleaning business due to all of this, and then was able to reopen, but with a lot of my own like restrictions to be able to make this work, and strictly only did that for a schedule to align. So like Kaytee said, like she doesn't do it on Friday because that could interfere with her family time, and I usually have to do it on Friday or Saturday because my job is physical. And while my days are not as long as somebody else's, I want to be able to be there and be able to do it. But then that extra time throughout the week allows me to manage the rest of the things. So while I'll go into my story a little bit later on, it's nice to touch on the full-time work for both of us, because full-time work, even part-time work, and managing a disability or a chronic illness or anything can be very difficult to navigate, but comforting to know that other people are also trying to do it too.
Yep, exactly. Yep, for sure.
So let's talk a little bit more about like your support system and even work. Like, what did people do around you to kind of like step up at the time or now, or things like, do you have somebody around when you do your infusion?
Yeah, so usually you always want to try and do your infusions with somebody around or at least on the phone, because as you've experienced, the adverse side effects can happen fast and they're scary. And if you need someone to call 911, you want someone, or 911, you want someone to be there. So my husband is amazing. He's always here, usually when I'm doing my infusions. If he's out of town, then he usually will be on the phone with me. But I do have friends that will talk to me on the phone and they know if I don't respond to call 911, and I do have prep, so I keep the door unlocked in case paramedics have to come in. The dogs are usually locked up somewhere, so if the paramedics do come in, that they're not bothered by that. And they usually will ask if there's kids in the house anyway, so they bring someone to take care of them. But yeah, it's scary to think about that, and it's nice to have friends and family that are willing to support me in that in case something did happen.
Yeah, that's very nice that they're able to do that for you. And the adverse side effects, so we can touch a little bit on some adverse side effects. For you, Kaytee, have you experienced any, or do you know of, or were you told by the doctors of what to look out for?
Yeah, they give you a long, scary list of things that can happen. So I read through them and kind of memorized them, and my husband read through them, and he was here every time the nurse came, so we're well versed in what could happen. I personally have not have had any serious side effects. Um, Itchy skin. I did switch to a hypoallergenic Tegaderm, so that has helped with the itchy red areas when I'm
I
infusing.
didn't even know those
Um,
existed, so I'll be trying those
yeah,
out myself for my baby
yeah,
skin.
definitely do that. It's made a pretty big difference. If you take antihistamine before too, that is helpful. But again, I those make me tired, so I usually just stick with the Tegaderm that's hypoallergenic. Um, but yeah, I don't think I've had anything really, just really tired, of course. I drink lots of water, thank goodness to you and your advice. I don't know what it would be like without lots of water because I will not ever do
Drink
that.
water, drink
So
water.
drink your water, people, lots before, lots during, and lots after. It makes for an interesting night of sleep, but it's worth it. It's fine. But yeah, I had a headache once that was a little weird, and my husband was out of town. But it went away. But it made me nervous. So you just have to be very aware of your body and listen to your body. And if you think something is wrong, it probably is. So get help. For me, I think, oh, well, my kids are home. I can't call, like, I can't go to the hospital. They're home. I have to stay here. I'll just suck it up. But you can't do that. You have to
That's
just
like the worst
call.
option, right?
Yeah, exactly. So worst case, someone will take care of your kids. They're not just going to leave your kids abandoned. Someone will get a hold of your husband or your sister or whatever, a neighbor, and yeah, you just have to take care of yourself because if you don't, then it could be dire, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's nice that they were able to give you like kind of a list and you were able to go over that with a support system, being like, hey, these are the things to watch out for. I would like to say to our listeners that most people don't tend to actually have adverse side effects to treatment. So, what Kaytee is experiencing is great on the not so great part of life. It's awesome that you're not experiencing anything. Some of the things that I've experienced that are on that scarier level is that that headache ends up turning into a pressure headache where I'm unable to feel like I'm able to speak out loud, and that I feel like I'm talking in my head but I'm not able to communicate. That pressure headache turned into vomiting and fatigue that lasted days. Like, guys, I'm talking like 3 days of me sleeping. And on average, I'm sleeping 9 to 10 hours. So when you're already sleeping that much and then you're out, from treatment like that, those are adverse side effects, and you do need to speak up about it, because I didn't. And now this is a space to be like, hey guys, we do need to talk about things when we're not feeling good or when we are feeling good. Because while my story might help somebody who's not feeling good, Kaytee's story might help somebody who is feeling good and feel validated and like this is working. And I'm so glad that there is this treatment and that this is working for Kaytee. It's working for myself. I like that Kaytee mentioned this and I'm going to try it. So that's why we're doing this.
Yes, exactly. Yep, you nailed it.
Awesome. And so, what do you like wish that more people would know? Whether it's your like friends, doctors, coworkers, what's one big piece that you're like, I wish everybody knew this about common variable immune deficiency or about just generally having a chronic illness?
I just, for me, the doctors, I wish that more, even GPs, Well, nurses I haven't really had experience with, but a lot of doctors that I've seen, whether it's just a general GP or a Medi-Center doctor, they have no idea what it is. So I wish there was a little bit more education in the medical educational system about that. I don't know if they teach on that or touch on that. Obviously they do, but I don't know. They just sound like they've never heard of it before. Um, for friends and family, just I think if you hear that someone has something, just ask how you can help. But if you do a little bit of research, not the doom scrolling kind, but if you do a little bit of your own research, just to see how maybe you can help them without them having to ask for help, I think that's a nice angle too.
Or come here and listen to us talk about it.
Exactly. Yeah, listen to
And some
us
more
talk.
things to kind of just put out there is like, I'm going to talk a lot about it on my website, on my pages, but some things that I dove into is the spoon theory and the zebra movement. So the zebra movement is something that's taught in school, like when people are going to university, become a nurse or doctor, they'll hear when hoofbeats, when hoofs beat, don't think zebras, think horses. So you're not thinking the rare disease, disorder, you're thinking the common. And the spoon theory is that the average person in a day would have 10 spoons, and the spoons would represent your energy. It's actually a lot more than 10 spoons. I think it was like for an average person, let's say it was like 100. But then for the chronically ill person, it would be that they had 10 spoons. So this spoon theory is that the average person will have a lot more energy than somebody with chronic illness, but the chronically ill person is then spending their spoons on things like making themselves breakfast and getting changed, and the healthy person is not. So things like these theories, these movements can also help us find some more comfort and help other people understand, because I shared this and my best friend, like we were on the phone and I shared it on Facebook, and she starts reading the post out loud and I'm like, are you reading what I just shared? Like on Facebook, like 20 seconds ago. And she's like, what? Oh, you shared this? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh, well, I think this is amazing. Like, this really puts it into perspective for people who do not have a chronic illness or a debilitating pain or a disability or anything. And her mother also has some struggles. And she was like, it really reminds me of you and my mom. And I think it's nice to put things into perspective sometimes for others around us to understand a little bit better so they are able to help support us.
Yeah, 100%. I've heard of that theory before and I always liked it. I was always someone that had lots of spoons where I thought, but then you get diagnosed and you have less spoons and you just have to really be mindful of making sure you don't run out of them.
Yeah, I think we should also touch on that because I am I do too much. Everybody likes to tell me this, but when I got diagnosed, like I really had to reel things back and touching on I had to close a business and rehome my cat and like deep clean my house. And like at this point, like guys, I couldn't sit down and breathe. Like life was very different than it is now. I'm on a biologic, I'm on plasma treatment, and a lot of the people in my life at that time didn't understand, but didn't want to understand, did not want to grow with me, did not want to educate. And that's totally okay. So now I'm on this other side where I'm receiving the treatments and I do have the support and I feel so much better on this side. So know that there is that other side of things. But yeah, I think it's kind of a little bit a double-edged sword because you want to know what's wrong with you and you want to know your diagnosis and you want to share that with your family and friends, but then sometimes you do share it with them and they don't understand and you're like, oh no, what do I do now?
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think you you don't want to overwhelm people with information, just like you don't want to overwhelm yourself with information. But I think it's just a matter of just coming to an understanding and knowing that some people can't handle it, or maybe don't want to handle it, and just respecting that, and maybe revisiting it at another time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think sometimes you think you have more energy than you really do. And you need to preserve that because I tend to push myself in times where you feel good or you've just got treatment and you got past that chronic fatigue and you're on the other side. You're like, yay, everything's good. I could dance, I could party, I could do everything. and you deplete all your spoons. And unfortunately, I taught myself that lesson, and I did all the things. I moved my mom, I worked alone all week. Like, I was expecting I had help here, and I didn't. And then I was trying to record with Kaytee, and it hadn't worked out, and I had all these other things not work out in the week, and I depleted all of my spoons. Like, I was in negative spoons, and I got sick. And I think it's just like, okay, well, yeah, duh. Of course you're going to get sick. So don't deplete all your spoons. Save some if you have any to save, and just be mindful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And it's just one day at a time. And you have physical spoons and you have mental spoons. So just keep an eye on both of them.
Hey, that's a good one, Kaytee. Keep an eye on both of them. Yeah. And we said it in the last episode, and I'm probably going to say it a lot more, but it's the drink your water, eat fiber, get your sleep, take care of your mental health, go visit your family and friends. Like, on my list is probably just going to grow. Do all the healthy things. Do all of the things that make your mind and your body feel good to whatever extent you can, because that's all that we can do. And I am a strong, firm lover of life over here. So even on my worst days, like, I could be sobbing my face off, and I'm just like, I love life and I want to go watch the sunset. And not all of us can feel that. I was very depressed. I had mad anxiety. I have ADHD. I have a chronic illness. And you don't have to be just like me, but try to find some sort of positive, like the sunset, that will just give you that little bit of, today's a good day.
Yeah. Something little, if you walk outside and you smell rain or whatever, just the small things.
Right? And you love reading. What else do you do that opens that kind of creativity in your mind or your body?
Probably too many things. I love lots of things. I love reading, so that's a big part of my life. I used to run a lot, not a lot. I used to run like half marathons, so it was a part of my life, but it's been hard to get back into with my lung issues. So we'll slowly get back into that. I can't do anything outside physical when it's winter. If I literally will breathe in cold air and I will start to get pneumonia again. So I don't do that. But yeah, I love traveling. I have a favorite band that I have lots of friends through, and we go and travel and see them together. But for me, it's my family. I love spending time with my girls and my husband, and just the days at home, even if we have nothing planned, if we're just watching a movie or just whatever, painting on boxes, that's my favorite.
That's so really sweet. It's a loving family, and it's nice that you want to, at the end of the day, be with your family and through the thick and the thin, right? Like, that's just so sweet.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, Kaytee. Is there anything else that you kind of feel like you missed, or you want to slide in there real quick?
No, just listen to ChroniTalk, find your community, always advocate for yourself, and if you see something, just know that not everyone's story is your story, and you're unique, and that's what they call us, zebras, and we're here for you. So anytime you need to talk, you can contact either one of us. But I think this podcast is going to be awesome and bring a lot of people together.
Thank you so much, Kaytee. I love that so much. And just to you, you're carrying so much. You're doing it so well. You do it with such grace and resilience and positivity. And I really love that. I'm so happy to have met you. Thank you for finding me. I just love it so much. And I know that our listeners are also going to feel really like seen and supported through that and your honesty today. So thank you so much. And if you loved this episode as much as we did, don't forget to follow ChroniTalk, leave a review, and share it with someone who might need to hear this. And you are not alone. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
If you have a story to tell, don't hesitate to reach out, because I want this to be as much your space as it is mine. Or if you'd like to hear a topic be discussed, please reach out to me at chronitalk@gmail.com. But that's with 2 K's at the end of talk. So it's going to be ChroniCtalkk@gmail.com. You are definitely not alone in this, and together we are going to make chronic illnesses, disabilities, and mental illnesses with you. Until next time, take care, give yourself grace,